everyone, thank you so much for coming back and joining me. Now in tonight's video I am going to be doing my review of season 3 of the Netflix series Stranger Things, and of course it's probably no surprise that I absolutely love this show. You know, it's a sci-fi series and it is also based in the 80s, and I'm an 80s baby, and you know, what more can you ask for? The very first episode of season 3, well over 40 million people actually tuned in. Now season 3 for me reminded me of, you know, the movie, the 1978 movie, The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It kind of was giving me that, plus also a Russian Terminator in the mix. Even more like the 80s than the previous two seasons were, even though they were very 80s as well, of course. But I felt even more like it was in the 80s, and it was even way more colourful. The clothes were like super colourful, and there was sort of like 3 or 4 different stories which I really liked going on. You know, they all had, you know, their own little stories going on, but then them stories actually, you know, became one, and I thought that was really well done. This time the Mind Flayer was going into their world, and they done this by using Billy as a very prominent character, which was great to see because, you know, we didn't really, you know, get to see much of him and learn much of him in the last season. And I thought he was even way better acting wise in this series as well. And I do actually have my notes, guys, because, you know, I have a lot that I want to say and there's no way that you would be able to remember all this. Of course the Mind Flayer infected Billy, and then, you know, Billy was the one that, you know, went and rounded up the others. And I loved how they opened the first episode of this season with Dustin arriving home, and they were trying to freak him out, and Elle was, you know, getting his R2-D2 toy to move, and I'm a Star Wars fan, so I loved that they had R2-D2 in there. I already knew about that part though because it was in the trailer. And then they came out and surprised him, and then Dustin was showing them, like, you know, the inventions and everything that he was making when he was away. And does anybody remember the episode in The Simpsons where Homer does all his own inventions and he makes this like hammer? Well, when Dustin showed his hammer, I was like, that's Homer's hammer. I just thought it was so funny. So now I want to talk about the cast. I thought the cast was fantastic. Now there is one cast member that I actually didn't like character wise, but I will get to that. It was pretty woke, but I will get to that. I loved the chemistry between Joyce and Hopper. You know, the way them two were bickering and, you know, pretending that they didn't like each other. And I was always hoping that them two would get together anyways. And Joyce was really bossy in this season with Hopper and with even people on the phone. She's like, no, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. And I love the whole, you know, sort of awkward humour that was going on between Elle, Mike and Hopper, and he was looking for advice from Joyce and, you know, sort of saying, maybe I should just kill Mike. And we even had Mike trying to tell Elle the whole entire season, God love him, you know, that he loves Elle. And then we even had Dustin, you know, when he's trying to tell her, you know, interrupt him with his walkie-talkie. And that was absolutely hilarious because in the background was Back to the Future music playing, because what is so classic about this season is they used Back to the Future movie. They were, you know, they went into the cinema and they were watching Back to the Future, so I thought that was brilliant that they added that in. And then the character Robin put in the joke, you know, about Marty McFly's mum, which brings me on to the character that I did not like in this season. I actually found her quite irritating and not needed, was Robin. And she is actually the daughter of the actress Uma Thurman from Kill Bill, in case anybody's interested. I just kind of felt that they made it out like they were going to be an item, and then she said that she liked women, and to me it seemed like more of an acceptance thing because Steve didn't really seem that bothered by it. And then it wasn't brought up again, and they purposely, I noticed, very, you know, coy, they waited till the episode before the last, and then it was never mentioned again. It seemed unnecessary. I also feel that I would have preferred she wasn't in the season at all, and they just had Dustin, Erica and Steve teaming up rather than all of them. And then the scene with the Russians where they give them the truth serum. I mean, just imagine Dustin for a second with the truth serum in him. I thought that would have been brilliant. Now Will, I liked Will in this season, and of course, you know, he was, you know, heavily based upon, his character was heavily based on season 1 and season 2, but you know, he was still important in this season because, you know, he could sense, you know, when the Mind Flayer was near. And I absolutely loved the way the Duffer Brothers, you know, sort of was showing him finding it really difficult and not wanting to accept that, you know, he can't just sit and play D&D, you know, Dungeons and Dragons for the rest of his life. you know, in Mike's house, and you know, Mike even said to him, oh, you know, is that what you sort of thought you were going to get to do forever? And he was like, yeah. And it's just that moment when you realise like you're not a teenager anymore, and it's like kind of crappy. So I really loved that they done that. I think that they made you know, the sort of relationships with the characters very personal, and you know, I really like that. You know, it's just a bunch of kids, you know, trying to accept that they're not, you know, kids anymore. And we had Dustin, Steve, Erica and Robin, you know, all teaming up, and I thought Dustin and Erica were absolutely hilarious, you know, two nerds together. And I loved when, in specific, when Dustin was using his little binoculars and him and Steve were on the lookout for, you know, a Russian, and they were all, you know, obviously trying to crack, you know, the Russians' code together. That's why they teamed up. And they saw this tough looking guy with a ponytail, but it wasn't him. He ended up just going into the dance class. I absolutely loved that scene. I thought Dustin was the funniest in this series. He was my favourite. He's my favourite in general, by the way, guys. Dustin's my favourite character. Who is your favourite character? You can let me know. And then as well, when he was in the lab and there was a dude just standing there and he just pushed him, that was absolutely hilarious. Now Nancy and Jonathan, I like them too in this season, and you know, it kind of showed Nancy, you know, sort of fighting for what she believed in. And one thing I will say though is I thought that episode 5 was probably one of the weaker episodes, you know, with her and Jonathan in the hospital. But I did like that they showed that when the Demogorgon takes over, that, you know, when she got the fire extinguisher and hit one of the guys that she used to work for, that the others can feel pain as well, because then it showed her boss felt the pain as well. I liked that they showed that. But I also thought that the hospital scene seemed a bit strange to me, because nighttime or not, guys, the receptionist was the only person there. Thought it was odd. I thought it was interesting that Elle and Maxine were close in this series, because, you know, of course, previously, you know, Elle just didn't really like her because she thought that there was something going on with her and Mike, and they were looking at, you know, Karate Kid magazines and Wonder Woman comics. You see, this is why I love this show. It's just like all like cool stuff thrown in there. It's really awesome. I love the story with Maxine and Billy, especially when Billy was trying to, you know, trick Maxine and fool her into like, you know, it's me, and you could tell she was like really wanting to help him. And then, you know, the scene where he you know, pushed through the glass with his fist. You know, I will be honest, I thought it was visually fantastic the way they done it. And I thought Billy's acting in that scene was brilliant, and you know, it came across as, I was actually scared, you know, it came across as freaky. And then of course, you know, Elle went up against him after that, and she literally pushed him right through to the outside of the bricked wall, and then he ran away. And I think that that was, you know, pretty horrifying for Maxine to have to witness. And, you know, she was really going through a lot. That must have been really traumatising for her to go through. So we got to see not only more with Billy, but we actually got to see a lot more with Maxine's character, I thought, in this series. And it was so emotional when Billy died at the end, and he actually apologised to his sister Maxine, and he just said, "I'm sorry." But one thing I noticed, guys, did anybody else not notice this, was poor Billy saved Elle, and he didn't even get any freaking credit. Like, no one even like mentioned that he saved her life, and I think really that was kind of crappy. I think someone should have said something. That's just my opinion. I loved the Easter egg in there that I'm sure you all noticed when Elle was sitting in the gas station that they all went to, and the boys and stuff were like, you know, gathering up fireworks. She was sitting at the fridge where there was tons of boxes of Eggos behind her, and of course we all know Elle and Eggos, you know, it's her favourite food. And I want to now talk about the visuals and the music. So we're going to go on to the music score first. Incredible music score throughout, from the start to the end of this season. And we had a lot of songs by Foreigner, but what was my favourite was the song called Neutron Dance, because straight away I recognised it and I was just saying, Beverly Hill Cops, it's in Beverly Hill Cops. A lot of these songs made me feel like, oh, I want to be young again, made me feel really nostalgic, and that's another reason why so many people love this show. That's why I love the show. I was born in the 80s. Visuals, I want to talk about the visuals. Visually, the best scene for me, that was my favourite personally anyways, was the one with Elle where she went and spoke to Billy in the Upside Down, and then she was then taken to the beach, and you know, it also, what I loved about this scene as well was not just the visuals looking absolutely stunning and done fantastically well, it was phenomenal looking, but I loved the fact that it was showing us glimpses, Billy, you know, him as a kid on the beach with his mother, and things like that. I thought that was absolutely fantastic because we got to learn a lot more about Billy and his childhood, and you know why he did become, you know, really kind of evil. And it really made me see his character in a completely different light. And the next one that I wanted to talk about that I really loved was, you know, the last episode toward the end with the mind flare in the shopping mall. Specifically when they were behind the car, which we knew about from the trailers anyway. That was just such a really intense scene as well, and I loved how they, you know, done the lighting and everything as well. The mind flare I thought looked so cool, it really did. It actually, the mind flare, what I wanted to say in the beginning, guys, was the mind flare reminded me of the T-1000 from Terminator, only in a more gross version, kind of. What did anybody else think? So that was really cool with the car scene and everything. And then I loved when it was tricked by one of the mannequins because it was dressed like Elle. I thought that was really cool. And yeah, that whole end scene, you know, they tied it together really well, and I'm glad that the, you know, that mall scene was done really well, because it would have been kind of disappointing, guys, if they hadn't have, you know, done that well. And the last visual that I wanted to talk about that was also my favourite, because you know I don't want to talk about all the visuals, guys, but my last favourite one would have been the fireworks at the fun fair. And I loved how they showed, you know, different shots of that, different angles. There was ones where I think it was just before the, you know, the intro of the theme song came up. Or it might have been after, anyways, guys. You could see the trees and everything, and then you know, the fireworks up above, and they were showing just different ways that, you know, different angles is what I'm basically trying to say. And I thought that was absolutely beautiful, and I love fireworks, so yes, I love the fact that there was fireworks in there. So I'm now going to talk about the ending and how I thought of how, you know, they finished up season 3. I thought it ended beautifully. It really cracked me up when Dustin was forced by his girlfriend to sing the song from Neverending Story, and then Maxine and Lucas were, you know, really poking fun at him at the end to try and get him to sing it and everything because we were making fun of him. And I believe that Hopper is not dead. I am 100% sure that Hopper is not dead, because I noticed when I was watching this that there was a door, say he's standing where I'm standing, right, there was a door like literally just over there, right? Plus not only that, when Joyce, you know, when she looked away from him, she looked away like this, and she had her arms out to the right and the left, right? But she didn't actually look when the moment would have happened that, you know, we were as viewers, you know, made to think, okay, we're supposed to be thinking here that he's dead. So if he did get out the door or go into the upside down, maybe somehow, for example, ended up there, Joyce wouldn't have seen that. So what I want to say is, I was thinking when I was watching, I think that he's got out that door behind him. That's what I mainly think. And that he was captured by the Russians. And I thought this even before a scene, you know, the very end scene, where it showed that there was an American that was captured by the Russians. I had already thought that before I'd even seen that part. And I thought, I think he's got out that door and maybe one of the Russians has been there, standing there, and has grabbed him. Do you know what I mean? But another thing is, guys, there was no funeral. We didn't get to see a funeral. And I know, yes, it came up saying, you know, 3 months later, you know, with Elle, you know, moving away with Joyce. I was going to say Winona Ryder, but either way, what does it matter? Joyce, that's what I thought. So I think there's a slight chance that he could have went into the upside down, but I'm more sort of swaying to the point where I think he's got out the door and goodness knows where he is. But I think the likelihood is that he went out the door and the Russians have captured him, and he's going to come back in season 4. That's my thought anyway. So I thought it ended, you know, it was very heartfelt, it was very moving, it was very emotional, it was sad. You know, I did have tears in my eyes. I didn't actually cry, but you know when you get tears in your eyes and you're kind of trying to like not cry because I didn't want to look ridiculous. But yeah, I was like almost crying, not gonna lie. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say, aside from the fact that I thought it was so heartfelt and specific when Elle was reading the letter that Joyce had and that was the original letter that he had written that he was going to say, you know, when he walked into Elle's room, and that he wanted to say. And I thought it was just really from the heart, and it really did pull the heartstrings. But you could tell that, I was happy that you could tell that Elle seemed a lot better after she'd, you know, read it, and she kind of gave like a smile when she walked outside and everybody else was standing there. And I think that it's nice that she did read it, because it did make her seem a wee bit better that, you know, what he wrote, does that make sense? That there was that little letter there for her to read, and it was nice how it ended, you know, and they rounded it off well. I'm now really excited for season 4, and Hopper will return. Hopper will return. Now, rating wise, I would give this a 9 out of 10, and I sort of feel that strongly it's probably because of, you know, the pandering, you know, the woke alert, you know, flash woke alert was the character Robin. And you know, I'm not going to put that down to her as an actress. I don't know the woman from Adam, she's probably lovely, but I'm just talking from the side of Duffer Brothers. I am sorry, but in the first 2 seasons there was none of that. It wasn't needed in this season. Someone explain to me in the comments, what did it actually bring to this season of Stranger Things season 3? She brought it up, she mentioned it, and it ended. It seemed odd. And I know what's coming in season 4. More of that from her. She's going to be flirting with all the girls in that video store. You better believe it. It seemed pointless. But anyways, yes, I give it a 9 out of 10, and I cannot wait for Stranger Things season 4. I had wanted to wait and watch this season in October, because I like watching stuff like that for Halloween. Whether or not it was based in July or not is completely irrelevant to me. I just wanted to watch it at Halloween, but I knew it would have been spoiled for me, and I am the type of person that I hate anything being spoiled and then I'll not want to watch it. So yeah, I'll not be watching this again until next Halloween. I've heard people saying that they've actually watched it twice so far. I couldn't do that. To me that would absolutely ruin it for me, because then you kind of, I don't know, to me that would make it too, like, kind of burn it out sort of thing. The next time I would watch this would definitely be next Halloween. That's just, you know, my opinion. I wouldn't watch a whole season of something and then re-watch it straight after that, and then people have been binge watching it as well. I don't know, I just think that would ruin a show, just sitting for a whole night and watching 8 hours worth of a show. I couldn't do that. That's just my opinion. Anyways guys, I really enjoyed watching this on Netflix, and let me know what you think down in the comments below, and who is your favourite character, and who was your favourite character in season 3. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. But until then, don't forget that the Force will be with you always. Bye guys.